Morning, everyone. Another glorious, glorious morning up here in the Lincolnshire Wolds. There's a little bit of a chill in the air, and hence the hoodie. But that's only because I'm right up at the top in the wind. You can see the sea one side, as I always say, and the other side. If I could stand on the hedge, I'd be able to see the cathedral. Beautiful, beautiful day. So yesterday, for patrons only, I did a video on who I thought would be my player of the season. And I've queued that up to be an article that pops up, I think, tomorrow morning. I may drop it a little bit later on today instead. But it struck me that the main contenders for player of the season at this point in time are defenders. And I think that's fair to say. I think if I was to ask 100 people who their player of the year was, there would be three names mentioned. If you asked me, obviously, I would be a strong backer of Sean Rowan as a potential player of the season, having played more games, I think, started more games than any other player this season. Longevity doesn't just give you player of the season, but staying free from injury and widely being one of the first names on the team sheet certainly puts you up there. A couple of years ago, Regan Poole was obviously named player of the season, based almost purely on the fact that he had played more games than anybody else. I think he was the only player really in the 21-22 season. Charlie, let's go. That came out of that with any real credit, if I remember correctly. Potentially, that's kind of where Sean Rowan fits in. I think there's a difference. Sean's a very different type of player. He's been very flexible. He can operate left back, left-sided centre half. So he would be one of the names I think that gets mentioned. One of the other names that will be almost certainly mentioned, that I talk about in my article that's coming out soon, I'm spoiling completely here, is Paudie O'Connor. Now, there are a couple of caveats, I think, with Paudie that really kind of rule him out, in my opinion, of player of the season. I'm not sure you can be player of the season when you have served 3 suspensions. 1 red card, okay, you could take it with that. 1 red card and accumulation of 10, yeah, potentially. 2 red cards and the suspension for an accumulation of 10 bookings means that he will have missed however many, like 8-9 games, something like that. For me, as a player of the season, he covers quite a large spectrum of achievements for you to be player of the season. You've really got to be injury free. To a degree, you can have a couple of games out here and there, but you can't miss 10, 15 games of the season and get player of the year, usually, unless the rest of the team are bad. You've got to be relied upon. You'll make errors. Every player makes errors, but it's got to be somebody that can be relied upon. Somebody, when they're on the team sheet, you go, he's going to have a good game. That does cover Paudie a little, but 1 or 2 of the yellow cards, and certainly for me, the last red card that he got, big question marks over those. And I just believe that to be player of the season, you can't have that discipline. You can't have that discipline issue. So whilst Paudie, already Andy Brown, hello, hope you're well. Why have I got to do this now? Used just to be able to click on it. Now I have to press it and I can't see the screen. So there we go. So as Andy Brown says, Paudie second. Andy has got the first place. Same as me. I mean, my heart would say Sean Rowan because I think there's an awful lot about Sean Rowan that's wildly underestimated. But certainly it's hard to look beyond Tendai Darikwa for player of the season. I think Ten has been outstanding. I think he's had spells where the form has dipped, as it has with every player, as it has with Sean, as it has with Paudie potentially. But 10 in terms of minutes, Tendai is second behind Sean Rowan, so that's a big boost for Tendai. He's also got the goals and assists. I think it's 5 goals and 3 assists. Sean, I think he's 1 goal and 2 assists. Now, okay, Sean's playing left-sided centre half. Let's not remember that he hasn't played the wing-back role, so it's been a little bit different. 10 has played the wing-back role, but the goals and the assists are there as well. From a defensive point of view, you look at him and go, "Yep, he does the job. From an attacking point of view, there's also some positives there. And I think another of the reasons that Tendai almost certainly will win the award is what he came into. And that begins to show you how player of the season is purely situational as well, or can be situational as well. Because we sold Lars Sørensen in the summer. So I've just noticed that my dog is of no interest on this walk at all. So this is going to be a really quick dog walk. So we sold Lars Sørensen in the summer. And when he went, there was that big question mark. Are we going to be able to get the energy up and down that flank? Are we going to be able to get some defensive nous there as well? So, you know, that the way we've been playing 3-5-2 last suited that perfectly. And last season he was a big part of that. And obviously he dropped out in the summer, and that was a worry. But when Ten came in, the worry was, would he be able to get up and down quick enough? Would he be able to provide the assists and the goals? Yes, he was. But then when we wanted to go to a 4-4 or 4-2-3-1 rather, or 4-5-1, or however you choose to say it. I've got to turn around because my dog. Things go a little bit better with Ten than they would with Lass. So there is that to kind of to put in the player of the season factor as well, in that he's got a little bit more flexibility. So defensively he's good, attacking he's good, in terms of flexibility he's good, and in terms of the position he came in to play he's good as well. Now what that's really struck me, and this was the kind of the crux of this, and it's going to be a 10-minute dog walk at most, looking at the dog. Why defenders? Because actually, in the XG table, we would be, I think it was, last time I checked, it was 6th. It may have changed over the last couple of games, but last time I checked the XG table, we would be 6th. So in terms of XG created and XG conceded, we should, if the players had done exactly as XG suggests, and that's never happens, but we should be 6th. So what that suggests is not only that we've been a little bit wasteful up front, which we have, and we know that, but also we've conceded more at the back than we should. And I don't think that's a secret to anybody at all. We've clearly let goals in where we shouldn't have. We've clearly had defensive lapses. I mean, you only need to look at the Barnsley game where we were gifted them, 3 goals potentially? So with so many gifted goals, I just find it quite interesting that it's defenders that are leading the player of the year kind of discussion. And there's only a couple of reasons I can think for that. First of all, when you look at our strikers, probably the ones that excelled or did well before Christmas, Bailey Cadamarteri's only had half a season. Ben House has never really settled or scored the goals to be player of the year. Joven shifted out wide. I think he would probably be 4th in most people's lists. So he's probably the attacker that's got the most credit. If all his good form had come at the beginning of the season and his misses against the likes of Stevenage and I think Rotherham or Leyton Orient, one of the two, would come at the end of the season, it might be different. But he's the only attacker really that's in that conversation. James Collins has arrived a little bit late. You know, this isn't a Joe Taylor situation from last season where people are going to say he should be player of the year. You know, there's a lot of positivity towards Joe Taylor's spell, which actually, if you break down, take out a certain run of 3 games, and it wasn't half as good as it actually looks, but that's by the by. So that's why no strikers, why no wingers? Well, we haven't played wingers particularly. So, and Ten technically is probably the most attacking player in that top 3 because he's played right wing back and he's got forward a little bit. But lateral forwards, wide forwards, we've only just really started playing those in the last few weeks. So again, the likes of Rico Hackett, who's done better in that attacking role, probably not part of this conversation at all. Then you think about this kind of attacking midfielder or the 10 role. You know, Jack Moylan, had he not got injured, certainly a fan favourite. Tom Bayliss, who played quite advanced early doors, injured half the way through the season. And when you start going through this, actually, it's been a tough season with injuries in terms of key players, hasn't it? Because there we're talking about Moylan injured, we're talking about Bailey Cadamarteri injured, we're talking about Ben House was out for a short spell, talking about Tom Bayliss missed a lot of the season injured. Key players. Then when you look in the defensive midfield, because actually that's the one place in terms of the XG probably least affected by the fact that we should be better in the XG table than we are. Ethan Araham, injured, the silly red card against Bolton. Otherwise, he'd be up there. Ethan Hamilton didn't really get going at the beginning of the season because of that injury, always coming into it late. Conor McGrandles, it's probably surprising that he's not part of it, but had to play out of position, you would say, certainly since Ethan Arahan sending off in injuries. Conor's probably a little bit unlucky. And I might put something together to that effect for the website a little bit later, because statistically, he's probably a little bit unlucky. People see him as giving the ball away all the time, but it's confirmation bias. You see him give the ball away, you look at the shirt number, it's McGrandles, there we go again. Whereas if somebody else gives the ball away, you look at the shirt number, it's not McGrandles, probably doesn't get mentioned as much. So I think Conor's pretty unlucky. He's probably the only one out of the four that I've mentioned that would be able to stake a claim, I think, for that position. And everywhere else on the field, it's been injuries, hasn't it? George Wickham's injured, so didn't get games. Adam Jackson in and out of the side. Lewis Monsma managed back from injury. Tom Hamer injured. So there's a lot of players, I think, that could be around the conversation and not. And the main three that we're talking about, Tendai, Sean Rowan and Paudie O'Connor, probably, and I may be wrong, somebody can correct me, probably the only three players this season who haven't had more than 2 or 3 games out in a row injured. So is it actually longevity? Is that what we're looking at? Are we looking at player of the season purely being those players that have remained fit and therefore have had the game time and the minutes? It'd be interesting for me to top up exact minutes. Sean Rowan undoubtedly out there. For me, I'd love to put Sean Rowan Player of the Year. My heart says Sean Rowan Player of the Year because I like his story. And like his story should be every bit as romantic, if not more, than that of Sam Clucas. But it's Sam Clucas dominating the headlines. Whereas you've got Sean Rowan, well over 100 games from our academy, talking here about potential Player of the Year. Same with Jovan, from our academy, Player of the Month, potential Player of the Year. Won't get it. Potential Player of the Year, and should absolutely be in and around Young Player of the Year. They're the stories. They're the ones of our own. They didn't serve me in Debenhams when I was a kid, or when I was younger, but what does that matter? So there we go. It really is a quick dog walk because I've had to turn around and come back, and there's a dog class on in the field I walk past, so Charlie will be mental. So any minute now I've got to put him on his lead. But it was just a quick one to discuss that Player of the Year. Imptunes subscribers, he sent a link out, so get on that. Vote for your Player of the Year at the ground. We don't vote Player of the Year at Stacey West. I give my opinion. It's Tendai. But then we go on match ratings, game by game. So do you, sitting there after 46 games, picking a player, match what you said over those 46 games, game by game? I find that really interesting. Remember, in the 2021 season, Conor McGrandles won your Player of the Year when we had George Grant and Brandon Johnson. Really interested to see how those add up. Look, anyway, thanks for watching. Thank you for everybody who continues to support the site. As I say, I did a more in-depth version of this on Patreon yesterday. That video is available still. I do some dog walk only Patreon videos, so hop along and sign up. It's just a couple of quid for a month if you're not signed up. Try and do at least 1 or 2 videos a week if I can on there, just for patrons. But in the meantime, up the imps.